Hey, it's Bruce Nature Calls, and finally got a hold of the Hilleberg Niak. It's their new lightweight tent design. It's a 3-season design, and it is doesn't have a setup video yet, so I'm going to do a practice setup with it because I do that with all my equipment. But this is the Kerlon 1000. This is the lightest fabric that they've got going on right now. They did try to do the Kerlon 600, but it was just too much trouble in the manufacturing from what I understand. The Hilleberg company is a mom and pop type of company. They're not this huge conglomerate, so they still have to watch everything they do, but they do everything just perfectly. So the specs on this is 3 pounds 12 ounces all in. So that's the bag, that's the stakes, that's the lines, the tent, rain fly, the bag, and the spare equipment that they have. Let's go set this up. I went to go pick this up and they handed it to me. I was really shocked at how light it was because it is the Hilleberg style tent that has the outer and the inner connected together, and they're both substantial tents. But I was really, this is a lightweight tent. So what we have here is in the Hilleberg green, and this is the floor, the bathtub floor, and it's definitely a thicker fabric. It's very strong, it's very usable. You can get a footprint for it, but most modern tent manufacturers these days, that is very, very strong. This fabric is just thin as tissue paper, but if you can actually get a sample and try and tear this stuff. You can't tear it. You kind of lay it out. This is the Hilleberg new green. It's very dark. It's not black. It's very dark green though, and they have other colors. Red. Now their poles are the DAC poles, and they are the 9mm. Now, of course, when you do your tent poles, don't throw them. And then make sure that your ferrules go all the way in. You don't want anything left there. You don't want any fractures. You don't want any snaps. That's where it'll break if it's going to break. But they have a kit that fixes these. But these are the top of the line poles. What's really cool is see the logic that Hilleberg puts into their design. As they design these tents for really the worst conditions. And if it was really windy, I would go ahead and stake it out. I've got a little bit of a breeze, but not much. But they have it so you put all your poles in from one end, and you can set it up so if it's in the wind, you want the door, say on the leeward side. You know, that's kind of how they design these tents to be put up. So you're not running all around your tent trying to get it all set up, say if it was really bad weather. Well, full sleeves. The sleeve material is definitely stronger. And this pole will go under first. So the one on the left will go under first because the other one, the sleeve goes over the top of this one. Now at the other end, there's a vinyl cup that you want the pole to go into. There's one. Let's get the other one in. Now that rides right over just fine. The first time I set this up, I set this one in first, and then I had to bring the other one underneath that. They've done a nice reinforcement area right there where the two cross. Now I would suggest taking this pole that's sitting on the top and doing that one first. Make sure all my guy lines aren't tangled up in here. You put it right into that pole cup, and it does look like you can have 2 poles in there. Then we'll do the second one. tighten those cups up just to the bottom of those, to the tent. Now what's nice is that this is a lot like the tents that I'm used to here in the Northwest, where it is freestanding. So I can just pick this whole thing up and put it wherever I want. Okay, let's just stake it out a little bit more, get our vestibule staked out. I know on the Hilleberg setups they talk a lot about, you know, tying your tent off to like your backpack if it's in a real windy situation, staking out at least one corner, you know. So it's not that windy today, but you know, if you're in the category of getting a Hilleberg tent, you should know these kind of things. So now I do need to stake it out so I don't pull it over. These are the really nice little Hilleberg stakes, real nice, lightweight. They do the job nicely. That's what comes standard. So now we can tighten up the vestibule, and then let's stake out the guy lines. And that's where you really get just an amazing amount of stability. This is their Vectran line, and it's a totally woven, there's no cover on it, but it's such a tight weave and it does not absorb water, and so it's always nice and grippy even when wet. So let's just tighten those down a little bit. It's got nice tie outs for the guy lines. So when you tighten it down, you don't want to flatten it or make it oblong. You want to just keep the shape but give it that strength. Now we have a beautiful tent. And one thing to notice right here is they have a cat cut on this side and on the other side. You know, we do that a lot when we're building things just to get a nice tension, but this is great for getting that airflow. You know, being a 3-season tent, you're not looking for the snow to be piled up, but you know, that's going to give you plenty of airflow to the tent because they have that on the other side. And let me show you how they do it on the back too. So we put this guy line right here to really pull. That's a good foot off of the inner tent. So you're just going to get no condensation or condensation problems. You almost always have condensation issues if it's raining or something like that. You'll get it on the outer tent, but it's not going to get to the inner tent. Now this outer fabric is a triple coated sil nylon. It has a grid pattern and it's like super strong. I can't tear it with my hands. And all the sewing, it's all sewed by one person in Estonia. It's got nice little reflectors on it. Enough of the outside, let's look at the inside. We do have more spots to guy it out if you want. You can get some more volume in the vestibule area. Other areas like that, you have a nice rubberized vinyl for the zipper cover. You can zip it up this way, get your vestibule. Or you could zip it down if you wanted some more ventilation in here. Always like that feature. Zip it on up. Entire back. I just love this fabric. It's just so light. Tighten that up a little bit. So here we do have a vestibule. That's great for one pack, that's for sure. Now here, when we talk about 3-season tents, and the 4-season, you'd have this mesh door like you see, but behind it you could also put up the same material as the inner tent. And that way you keep snow and all that stuff out of the inside. And the 3-season tents, they've gotten rid of that door fabric. So, you know, of course, to gain some weight loss. Nice big D-sized door. It has tie backs, but I'm just going to shove it in this little pocket. There you have the Hilleberg 1.5, and they call it 1.5 because it's could do 2 people fairly well, better than a 1-person tent, but it's definitely made to be a palace for a 1 person. or a person and a child, or a person and a dog, or a person with a lot of equipment. It's just massive in there. Let's tie this on back so you can see the whole thing. Probably the main big plus about the Hilleberg tent was they're the ones that came up with the idea of having an inner tent and an outer tent, or double wall, to have it suspended, so when you put up the outer tent, the inner tent just came up with it. And it's suspended right here with these elastics, and it's suspended off a good 4 inches, so if condensation does happen, it just flows down the outer tent and goes back into the ground. Go ahead and climb on in. So it's got plenty of room. You know, another guy my size, you know, if you put his head up there, we would have plenty of room. You know, definitely for a dog, I can sit up in here just great. Got little tie outs, some pockets and everything like normal tent. This inner yellow is nice and bright and cheery. But here you really got a fantastic tent. You know, if we were, you know, husband and wife or whatever, yeah, we could do it. You know, if you know, 2 guys, we'd be tight with like my shoulder width. But you know, one that way, one this way. I've definitely got good 5 inches up here, 5 inches at my feet. Yeah, there's definitely room in here. Nice cheeriness. All right, so there you got it. The Hilleberg Niak 1.5. You know, definitely a contender in the lightweight. Definitely a winner when it comes to the harshest of weathers. I would always have no problem if the weather outlook was really poor being in a Hilleberg tent. But here it is. So let's see it out on the trail. Take care. Bye now.